This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look. Hello, welcome to episode 108 of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda and I'm your host. In this episode, I give you an update on a 4-week stretch of knitting and crochet that I have been up to, my knitting and crochet antics of the last 4 weeks, followed by a Layercake section where I introduce and style the 4 now garments that we are having on pre-order in the Layercake lineup in our glorious Scottish tweed, which are the Playsuit and the Tulip Dress, which you already know and may have seen in the past, as well as now the Smock and Tabard. But to start off with, knitting and crochet update. So I really only have 2 projects to show you this time. I have been working on the crochet phone pouch that I started last spring, I think, last May, for my mum in a thicker linen that I have some stock of. And this is the finished article. I had started crocheting this with a size 3 crochet hook, and for some reason I got it in my head that I needed to finish the thing while I was visiting my mum in Holland, which was nonsense because I had to take it back to the UK to record my stitches for the pattern update, so that we have a pattern version in the fine 3-ply linen 3-ply that is part of my yarn offer, and that of course already exists as a pattern, and I wanted to update the pattern for this thicker linen and thicker hook. So in the process, because I was crocheting so ferociously and I was not that great at crochet yet, I'm actually already a lot better. I was holding my hook with far too much tension in my hand and ended up giving myself RSI in my thumb. So this baby was left kind of unloved for a fair amount of time. And tomorrow I'm going to fly back to Holland to visit my mum for her birthday, January birthday, and I thought, well, I can't go back without bringing her finally this finished pouch. So I finished it. I lined it with our small check linen with a little passport pocket or like little side pocket in it, and I have left off, in her case, the magnet, because I don't expect her to use this pouch inside out, and that magnet is quite strong, specifically so that you can turn the whole pouch inside out and the magnet still works through the linen. But I doubt that she'll want to do that. I think she'll like this textured side a lot more. However, when I finished, I thought, actually, this has turned out ever so slightly smaller than the original pattern calls for. So I'll hold them on top of each other so you can see the difference. It's not much, but it is a little bit smaller. And I thought, actually, because there are so many less stitches in this version, because it's thicker and a bigger hook, then wouldn't it be nicer if it would be slightly larger rather than slightly smaller? So rather than rushing to finish the pattern, I made another one just this past weekend that is ever so slightly bigger than the original, especially in terms of width and circumference. So that's the slightly bigger one. You can all see my stitch markers to mark where I've decreased, so it's easier to write up my decreases in the pattern update, having them marked like that. There are a couple more here at the top, and it's got the little loops to attach the strap to already, but I haven't lined it yet because I've just finished it. So here it is. I really think the proportions of this little bag are fantastic. I like the proportions better than this slightly skinnier sister. So this is what's going to be the updated pattern, and these kind of yarn quantities, or stitch quantities rather. So that's what I did this past weekend. I'm going to give my mom the choice of the smaller or the bigger one. She can have whichever one she likes. I'm obviously going to try and line this before I leave. So lots of last minute things, typical me. But almost finished project, crocheted at the last minute to delight my mum on her birthday. Then that was just this past weekend, because most of my Christmas break I've been working on this jumper. I think I told you already last time that I was considering another selfish knit, another jumper for myself, and that I was keen to combine the linen and fiber space cumulus the way I had done in my West Knits mystery knit along. The geo gradient I have done in completely in linen and fiber space cumulus held together. So I thought, well, what would happen, because I loved the fabric that made so much, what would happen if I knit a whole jumper out of those two yarns together? And of course, one of the colors that I had created or used in the geo gradient was this dark aubergine color, which of course is very close in color to the blackcurrant that we currently have in the linen. So I thought, I have to work in the blackcurrant. The other combination that I really liked was the white linen with, I've forgotten the name of the color of the fiber space, but it might be something like moon or something. Anyway, I'll put it down below, the color name, and those two held together I liked a lot as well. So I started knitting the beginning of the, I think it's called the Itaka by Junko Okamoto, with a very unusual increase line and neckline as a result. The neckline, or the increase line, sits in front of your shoulder and creates this beautiful, almost like diamond shape neckline, which I really like. And because of the yarns that I'm using and the needle size, I'm using a 3.5mm needle, and then in combination with these yarns I'm getting a bigger gauge than what the pattern calls for, which is fine by me because I like my knits oversized, as you know. And I decided to go for a very wide stripe, kind of in line with the whole kind of feel that I want this jumper to have. Now, of course, because of the stripes and that unusual neckline, it also has a very unusual sleeve construction. And as a result, I have created a stripe pattern that, I'll put this sleeve away so you can see it here. The back panel goes all the way down to here, and then you attach it to the front panel. And I've done that in such a way that I have 2 whole extra stripes here in the back before I move on to the stripe pattern that's repeated for the rest of the jumper. That ends up giving me, I've made this section longer than the original pattern calls for, and that gives me a bigger armhole than the original pattern has. And again, that works better for me. I've got really big upper arms, especially if I'm in my higher weight range, which I am. So I want to clad these hams in a way that they don't end up showing through skinny sleeves. So I want those sleeves to be nice and roomy, same as with the rest of the jumper, nice and roomy. I love that oversized look, like I say, and I know that it's a real trend to have very skinny sleeves with a more oversized body. I'm not too keen on that, partially because of the heaviness of my own upper arms, but also because it really creates a very different silhouette, and it takes away from the all over oversized look, which I'm still very stuck on, have been all my life. So I've got these 2 extra stripes here, then knitted this section a little bit longer than what's called for in the pattern, and picked up and resumed my stripe pattern. And of course, this allows for that neckline to sit where it's supposed to, and it creates a bigger armhole, and it creates this extra fabric in the back, which of course results in the back of the jumper being longer than the front, which is another thing that I'm really stuck on, I really love. So when I got to this height, I thought, well, what shall I do? Shall I keep going with the stripes or shall I do something different? And then I remembered that, of course, in the past, I've already made some of the little gingham scarves, the little scarfies in combination of linen and then a corresponding color in cumulus. So in this case, if I would have done one of those little scarves, then it would have been the dark purple linen and the dark purple cumulus, and then create that very exciting, well, to me, very exciting mash of different textures in that for the little Dunboard scarf. And the Dunboard is the Dutch word for checkerboard. So a little checkerboard scarf, and then doing that all tonally. But of course, in the gingham wingham, I'm using two contrasting colors. So I thought I'm going to keep holding my yarns together as I have here, and I'm going to introduce that gingham pattern as a very wide border here at the bottom. Now, because that is a form of double knitting, where every time you see a little white square on the front, there is a corresponding purple square on the back. So it's 2 layers of knitting. And every time you see one of the marled sections, I'm holding all the yarns together. So holding 4 strands of yarn together, of course, gives me a bigger gauge than holding 2 strands of yarn together here. But because it's this combination of little pockets of double knitting and then little pockets of holding everything together, my gauge is bigger, but it's not wildly different from, or it doesn't have to be wildly different from the rest of the body of my jumper. So you can see that there's a little bit of puckering here because of my gauge having changed. But I reckon that if I steam that once it's completed, because of the little pockets of 2 layers of knitting, I will be able to lose some of that extra width in the steaming and compact the linen or compact the fabric in a way that, first of all, I get a little bit of that fold effect that my West Knits shawl has, but I also lose any of the puckering that you see here at the moment as a result of my blocking. So I'm going to keep going. It's extremely slow, I must say, and that is because, of course, I have to make sure that I catch my double sets of yarn, which of course I have to do here as well. But it's extra tricky when I'm maneuvering 2 sets of those. And of course, the movement and the bounciness of the linen is completely different from the movement and the bounciness of the cumulus. The cumulus is very forgiving, of course, when you knit with it, and the linen is very springy and doesn't stretch. So you have to pay more attention to your knitting when you're knitting with 2 strands like this together than when you just have 1 or 2 yarns that behave very similarly. However, I believe that the payoff is really there, because you end up with a fabric that has the structure of the linen and then the softness of the cumulus. I love that combination. So I'm really, really keen on the results so far. And I think it's going to work with this gingham section. I reckon I'll make that section about twice the length that it is at the moment. So it's going to get much wider than it is right now. I'm almost at the end of the third little block. And I think it'll have to be at least 6 blocks and maybe even more than that in order to look good in terms of proportions. And then I'm still going to knit sleeves as well on this jumper in the stripes, and I don't know yet whether I'm going to bring back the gingham anywhere else or whether that's just going to look twee. If I decide not to, then I'm not going to put any cuffs on the sleeves and just have a rolled edge at the bottom and just keep them very simple and just have the gingham at the bottom of the jumper here and let them do the talking. Keep the sleeves very simple, relatively wide like I already showed, and taper them a little bit and then just leave them be and leave them very plain. Same with the neckline. I don't think I'm going to do anything else with the neckline. I love these kind of loose open necklines because then I can play with shawls and underpinnings, etc. So we'll see how far I get. I'm going to take it with me, of course, on my little visit to my mum and my family this coming week. I'll have to pack it away in my suitcase rather than take it on the plane because I cannot possibly risk my needles being taken away from me. And of course, this is quite bulky already, so it'll be safely stowed in my suitcase, and I'll bring something small and a bit more manageable to play with on the plane. So that's all for my knitting and crochet for the last 4 weeks. Absolutely love it, but of course it's a 3.5mm needle and it's a very large jumper, so not that much progress, relatively speaking, for a 4-week period. I'm loving the result though, so I'm going to stick with it and complete this project. And that's it for now. So let's leave it at this. And without further ado, here's the Layercake Scottish Tweed episode. I hope you enjoy. Well, wool layer cakes in January, with you by the end of January, or at least we sent them out by the end of January latest. As we normally do, I'll try and prioritize international shipments as the sizes and garments become available, as Andrea makes them. Once this pre-order closes on Monday, at the end of the day, on 15th of January, the pre-order closes, and then Andrea will be off making your garments for you. I'll send them out as soon as she finishes them. So by the end of January, most of you will have received any wool, Scottish wool check layer cakes that you decide to order. And what I'm wearing here, kind of appropriate for the weather. We've all of a sudden got a little cold snap here in the south of England. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this podcast without getting too overheated with all my garment changes, because it's actually chilly out. And of course it has an impact on the temperature inside here as well. So I'm wearing a size 3 long wool playsuit. And if you watch this podcast regularly, you know that I am on the heavier side of my weight pendulum, which tends to go up and down over the years, indulging too much, moving too little, I'm sure. And as a result, I'm kind of in between a size 1 and 2 at the moment, with more like a size 18 bust rather than the size 16 that I shrink back into when I lose some weight. So it's more like an 18 up top and a 20 down below. And I'm wearing a size 3. So of course that's really roomy on me, but it is to illustrate to you that you can choose to wear a wool layer cake just as much as a linen layer cake, oversized, and it'll still look and sit good. It's not like all of a sudden this thing is swamping me. Of course my height helps, but then again I am also wearing the size long, and with those big armholes, of course, as long as you wear things underneath, you can get away with wearing your layer cakes really oversized. They don't have to be fitted around the bust. They just drop down and kind of follow your curves as they are. So if you're somebody who fluctuates in weight like I do, then there's no reason why you wouldn't have 2 or even 3 different layer cake sizes across the different garments that you have in your wardrobe, because you can also wear a smaller layer cake over the top of a bigger one. I'll illustrate that in a moment. I'm also wearing this layer cake over the top of others. I've got a black love top on, the cocoon love top rather than the linen one, and I've got a black pair of cocoon baggies underneath here as well. It's a wonderful layer underneath the wool if you're a bit wool sensitive and you're not keen to have this directly on your skin. Then a pair of cocoon baggies or a pair of leggings that you may already have underneath will solve that problem, and of course it creates extra warmth in these chilly days. Now, 3/4 length sleeves in the middle of winter. Of course, the more logical option with the cold would be to wear an anytime top in black instead, or any other color, but you know, replacing like for like, it would be a black anytime top. The reason that I'm wearing this love top is to illustrate a rather important point. I had a batch of anytime tops produced over the Christmas period in December, and they just came back into stock, and it turns out that my supplier, in all their wisdom, grabbed the wrong pattern and has made a batch of love tops instead. So rather than being restocked with great quantities in size 3s, for example, that were out of stock in the anytime top, I am now flooded with black and anthracite and grey, which is a color that I didn't have before, love tops. So I really do apologize about that. It was really completely an error on their part, and they're trying to see what they can do. We're trying to see what we have still in terms of fabric to see if we can make some anytime tops soon, but of course we have to find a little production slot for that. So it's a bit murder and mayhem at this end regarding those tops, but I fully realize that in the grand scheme of things, it's a luxury problem. It's not like we're completely out of garments to show and present to you, but it's just to highlight that if you were waiting for an anytime top in black or grey or slate that was out of stock, then, and it still hasn't come in stock yet, despite my earlier promise, that's the reason, and I'm really sorry about that. I will, of course, keep you posted and let you know through the newsletters and through the podcast and on the website what we're doing about it and when I will have those out of stock sizes back in stock. Meanwhile, though, here we are presenting wool layer cakes. So let me start layering with this baby. Of course, I have an anytime top to show you. I've got a size black in a size 2 in black that I can put on, but whether or not I'm wearing 3/4 length or full length sleeves, is it that important? Probably not for the podcast. What's important is layering with the wool. So here comes the first edition. Keeping it very tonal with a mini tabard, again in a size 3 in fig. I only have a size 0 and a size 3 at the moment, and I was really keen to show you how fig looks in that muted, very muted aubergine color, together with and combined with the Scottish wool. The Scottish wool has got a lot of very popular, beautiful, muted, typical layer cake rich colors in it, in a very broad palette. So we're going into the browns, into the rusts, but also into the purples and blues and greens. So it's one of those fabrics that goes with virtually everything. Now, this is a very muted purple. Of course, we can go brighter. Let me show you a brighter purple mini tabard. So this again is a size 3 in violet, which of course is a color that we've run out of stock of. And this is less about showing you a mini tabard and more about showing you a bright color in combination with the Scottish check. So of course there are other bright colors in the range, and I'll show you 1 or 2 of them in the course of this episode. But I just wanted to show you how a bright color like the violet picks up on the purples and the heathers in this tweed, and how lovely that works together, because some of you may have violet at home, of course. So let's move on to black currant, because I'm sure some of you are keen to see a combination of the tweed with the black currant. Here it comes. This is my own blackcurrant smock that I'm wearing to the studio today, and that's a size 2, which I'm now wearing over my size 3, or a size 3 long playsuit in the tweed. And you can see now very clearly how well it works to wear a smaller layer cake over the top of a bigger one. So if you have playsuits, for example, or dresses that are getting very roomy on you and you would like to create a slightly sleeker silhouette without fiddling with those garments because your weight may bounce back up in the future, who knows, then you could put a smaller size over the top, still wear the garment, still wear the outfit, still feel absolutely comfortable and confident in it without thinking, oh, it's going to slip off my shoulder or it's just looking too roomy to my liking. Not a problem. This works a treat. The other point, of course, is to show you the blackcurrant in combination with the tweed, like I said. What do we think? I think this is a magical combination, especially because the tweed has got such rich dark purples in it already. So the eggplant color, the aubergine color goes particularly well with it. I want to show you slightly lighter color as well, because what I've shown you is, except for that violet, is all quite dark. But what about a lighter color in combination with the tweed? Here comes one that I really like. This is a love dress in a size 3 petite in cherry. Now there's two things that I want to highlight. Obviously one is the color and how beautiful a rich reddish like burgundy kind of pink goes with the colors in the tweed. But secondly, the oversized look. As you may have seen me, if you watch this podcast regularly, you may have seen me in size 1 love dress in the petite length, and because of that dolman sleeve, even though I'm on the cusp of between a size 1 and a size 2, I can still wear a size 1 love dress because of that extra roominess that the dolman sleeve gives. But if I then go down in length and I wear that cropped on me length of the petite length dress, then it all starts looking a little bit mean on me. The combination of smaller size and shorter length, not so sure how well that works on my taller frame, because of course the dress is shaped for a different height ideally. However, look what happens when I size up. Not go up in length, but just go up in size and keep that shorter length. First of all, of course, it does get slightly longer on me because there's a bit more fabric literally hanging off me, especially on the sides. But also the whole impression that the dress gives changes. The sleeves look more generous and slightly longer on me, and that extra space around the bust just gives me more of a smock or tunic-like, not Layercake smock, but kind of painting smock, blousey tunic type effect and tunic type impression. It just becomes a lovely throw over rather than a more shapely fitted dress. Going back to the point that I'm always trying to make, play with your Layercakes. They are so versatile, and within one garment, by playing with lengths and varying sizes, you can create a breadth of different looks, and this is one good example. When in doubt, of course, you can always contact me if you say, well, Linda, I'm a very different size than you and I want to achieve a look like this. Where do I go in terms of size or height? Drop me a line whenever you want to. I'll always do my best to answer. And I may ask you for measurements. I may ask you for a picture here or there, but I'll help you as best I can. So, oh yes, this is the next thing that I wanted to do. Of course, with wearing things over the top of a playsuit, you make the playsuit look like a pair of trousers. The top of the playsuit, unless it's sleeveless, whatever you're wearing, disappears. Unless you wear something that's open in the front. Of course, we have our Joy jacket, our Jan jacket, our dusters. So let me grab one of those and show you the playsuit with an open jacket over the top. So you still have that elongating line. You still see lots of the tweed all the way up, whereas you still add a layer and some extra coverage for your arms, sleeves and back should you want to. So here it comes. I think, what have I lined up? I've got a Jan jacket. A Jan jacket in Magpie, another color that goes beautifully with the muted and heathered look of the Scottish tweed. I've got it open at the moment. You can get an idea of the length and the shape on me, but of course, and specifically, of course, being able to see the full length of the playsuit. But of course, I can then close this, as you all know, and have seen before. Close it and wear it with those lovely asymmetrical lines, pockets in the side seams rather than on top, to create a different silhouette from the ones with the pockets always on top, and then that cutaway front to create a really nice silhouette and not just go for straight lines. Whenever we do that, we tend to go for curves and angles and interest and showing off the garments that you're wearing underneath. So here we are with the playsuit. Let's throw a smock over the top of that in the tweed and see how that affects the silhouette and the look. Done the same size trick again. A size 2 smock over the top of the size 3 playsuit. Works a treat and actually really adds another interesting silhouette, another interesting line, even though both of them are exactly the same color. Lovely outfit, and of course another extra layer of warmth. I still have the baggies underneath, the cocoon baggies, then the playsuit, of course the love top, and then the smock. And then of course I could either wear a warmer top underneath, or I could add a jacket or a cardigan, or a hand knit, for example, would be great as well. So you can then finish that outfit with a warmer top should you want to. Big shawl would be lovely as well. Anyway, we can all dream and dream up outfits, which is what I always try to encourage you to do at home with your wardrobe. Try and make new combinations, throw a bunch of different garments on your bed and make interesting combinations of fabrics and textures and colors, and it's so much fun to come up with new combinations. So on to a bit more about the smock. Let me drop the playsuit out from in between and replace it for another pair of Layercake trousers. In the middle of getting changed, I thought, another pair of trousers. Of course, I can first show you just the cocoon, the black cocoon trousers, the stretchy ones, in combination with my black love top. Now, of course, this combination of black could easily be replaced by the slate or the grey or the blue. All those colors will look great with this combination, with this Scottish tweed. I just happened to grab the black because I wanted to illustrate the love top versus anytime top, which I then forgot to put on, but there you have it. The point was made, but that explains why I'm wearing black, not because it's my favorite combination with the tweed. Like I said, all of the colors look good with all of the cocoon colors look good with the tweed. So, black cocoon as an example, lounging at home just with your cocoon on and then needing to go out, needing an extra layer, throw over a playsuit or a tweed smock like this and you're good to go. If you want to combine it with other linen layer cakes, then of course I can put my blacker and baggies on, which are the ones that I'm wearing to the studio today. Here they come. So yes, blacker and baggies with the tweed smock. And I was talking about wearing the cocoons under the tweed to stop the wool from touching your skin. But of course, it's also for extra warmth. And that's what I'm doing today with the cold weather here in the south of England this week with my linen baggies. I'm wearing a pair of cocoon baggies underneath, that extra layer. That extra layer is so cozy underneath either the linen or the wool. And so it feels really nice. It feels very snug. It doesn't really add much bulk because, of course, in terms of shape, they just follow each other's shape beautifully, the two pairs of baggies on top of each other. But like I said, if you don't have any cocoon baggies and you like that idea, if you've got some linen Layercake trousers, wear a pair of leggings underneath. That works as well. So, baggies in the blackcurrant color, but I'm still wearing that love top, and I think it's about time that I change it for something else. So here comes a different color to wear with your tweeds. Here's chartreuse. Chartreuse linen shirt in a size 1. And I will take this smock off in a minute so that you can see what the size 1 is doing on me with my bigger bust, my size 18 frame at the moment up top. And also to show you the chartreuse right next to blackcurrant, because oh my goodness, it's a good combination. But look at this glorious smock over the top. These bright colors, well, bright, vibrant colors, because blackcurrant is quite vibrant as well. The vibrant colors, even though it is dark, it still packs a lot of punch. In combination with those heathered tweeds over the top in that multicolor, it just makes for such a rich, beautifully colored tapestry. This check also always makes me think of the Italian Commedia dell'arte with the really beautiful dark purples and dark reds and those really jewel-like colors. I think a wool tweed does a beautiful job to emulate some of those very, very rich colors, and that makes it very versatile, like I already said. But let me take this off, see if I manage to do that without bearing all on screen. I'm nothing if not impulsive, as you know. Here we are. Oh, I did it. Without being completely naked. Right, so just want to show you the lines of the shirt over the top of a contrasting color baggy. So size 1 shirt, like I said, it still fits, it doesn't pull anywhere, I can still move comfortably in it despite my bigger size. So you've got a bit of space to play with in the shirts, like you do with the dolman sleeves on the love top and love dress. And here is that glorious combination of the deepest purple with that bright chartreuse. Now, of course, another color that's wonderful with the chartreuse is the bitter lime. So let me change these baggies for the bitter lime and show that in combination with the tweed. Bitter lime in the palazzos, and this is the extra large long. So the large long still fits me with my size 20 bum, but the extra large just gives lots more extra space and has that lovely loose silhouette that I love. So my preferred size at the moment for the palazzos is the extra large rather than the large. But if you prefer a more fitted silhouette, then the large would still be an option for you. When in doubt, check the fit guide on every page. There's a fit guide that you can click underneath the product description that gives you the garment measurements and the recommended body measurements. So there's always a little bit of wriggle room that you need. So never, unless you buy something that is stretchy, never buy a woven fabric garment that matches your body measurement with its garment measurements, because for example with trousers you need extra space when you sit down. All of you needs to move somewhere when you sit, and as you know, as you are bigger and there's more of you surrounding your frame, surrounding your skeleton, when you sit, that literally puddles out around you, that needs to go somewhere. So if you wear garments that are too small, you'll literally either straight away or gradually burst out of them. That's the reason that happens, in case you were in doubt. Anyway, shirt, palazzo trousers in the bitter lime, and look at this color again, that nice brighter color picking up on the lighter colors in the tweed. Lovely combination. Now, of course, the smock is not the only garment. The new tunics that we have done in this beautiful tweed, there's also the tabard. So the tabard casts rather a different figure and is especially favored by shorter frames or by people that have a straighter silhouette. because rather than it being curvy, I mean the smock, as you know, has got quite a curvy line. The tabard is more of an A line, and of course it's got the points in the front and back, and that creates a very different silhouette, especially on the bottom half. I'll show you. A tabard in the tweed in a size 2 again, so nice and roomy on me, but not too big or too small. And that's an important one, the small bit with the tabard, because it is an A line and it's got less curves. If you are a bit of a pear shape like I am in between 1 and 2 sizes different between top and bottom. So that extra mass that I carry on my bottom half is more easily accommodated by a smock because of its curvy shape than by a tabard. So as I fit comfortably in a size 1, both smock and tabard, and then I start getting bigger, I start gaining weight, then because my bust is relatively small compared to the rest of me, I can still get my bust into the size 1's smock and tabards, but the size 1 tabard will start to pull around my hips because my bottom is big. So what happens there, and what happens then, is that my hips start catching on the fabric because there's not as much extra room around my hips with the tabard as there is with the smock. So that A line, if you're not quite as hippie, or if rather than a pear shape you're a triangle or you're more straight, then you will never encounter that problem. And then you may prefer a less curvy shape, because those extra curves on the smock may just add bulk where you really don't want it, because your more slender hips and your more slender legs are something that you want to accentuate. Then possibly the last thing you want to do is put a curvy garment around them, and then the tabard is a really good option. Tabard also shows off your legs in a different way, and that is that it shows less of your knees because of those points in the front and back, but more of the length of your leg around the side. And we have found that especially shorter frames often prefer the lengthening and effect that they have with that shorter side of the tabard and showing more leg there, rather than with that curve in the middle of the smock. So I hope that is clearly illustrated with the tabard that I'm wearing here. Now, if you're not into points altogether, you say, yeah, points in the front and back or points down the side, just give me a straight edge. Then of course we have one more tweed garment left, and that is the tulip dress. So let me show you a tulip dress in the tweed. Finally decided to change that top, not back to a black, but to a grey anytime top. This is a size 2 grey anytime top, and I'm wearing that with the size 2 in the regular length of the tulip dress, which is like a midi length on me, like mid-calf, and then still those extra large long palazzos underneath. So you get that straighter line. If I would have it, I would show you a petite tulip dress with that shorter silhouette, a little bit like what I did with the love dress, but I don't have that size to show you, so I'm showing you what I can. This is the size 2 regular length, and I'm also going to show you size 2 long length in the dress, the tulip dress, so you can get an idea of the difference. There is 10 centimeters, 4 inches between each length difference, so another 4 inches onto this dress gives us the long length, or 4 inches less gives us the petite length. And then on the petite, the pockets are a little bit bigger, etc., a bit higher, etc., etc. However, doesn't this grey look lovely again against the tweed? And like I said, you can just go anywhere with the colors that you combine with this tweed. I haven't come across any one color yet where you go like, oh, that doesn't look very good. They all look good because there's so much in it. So I hope I've illustrated that with the colors that I've shown you so far. Let me grab the long tulip dress to compare it with this regular length. So here is the size 2 long tulip dress, still worn with the same underpinning, still with the grey anytime top and with the bitter lime palazzos. But I am going to swap those palazzos for a cocoon pair of baggies in the same grey colour, because I want to show you the difference of having a backdrop of colours, base layers that are all in one colour, and then have really giving all the attention of the outfit to the dress that you're wearing on top, the tweed that you're wearing on top. So here it comes. So here you can see that by wearing the grey baggies instead, they are really pushed into the background and the dress gets to shine. That doesn't really change if I wear one of the tunics instead. So let me do that as well just before I close off this, again, long episode. Bear with me. I realized that I haven't shown much of the tabard, so I'll put the tabard back on, but with the backdrop of this lighter base layer, and just again, you know, show that that base layer then is really a backdrop for the garment on top to shine. Here it comes. Tabard, baggies in grey, anytime top in grey. The tabard is doing all the talking, and the grey cocoon behind it just gives it that framing, just creates the backdrop against which the tweed shines. So I hope I've delighted you with this pre-order. I hope you consider getting one of these garments. I am more and more, because of the fact that we don't do many shows. In fact, you know, Wonderwool next year or this year, maybe our last one yet. We'll see how we go with that. But because we're doing less shows, more and more of the production gets done through the pre-orders to help keep the prices down and to help manage the stock keeping that I do. So things like these garments, the tweed Smock and Tabard, the tweed Playsuit and Tulip Dress, because also partially because they're real winter garments, I won't have many of them in stock throughout the year, and that means that most of the time they'll have to be made by on order. So you place your order and then we make your layer cake, and that's one of the reasons that we then can't, we have to charge more for garments that we make on a one-by-one basis. So if you can stretch to one of these, you've always wanted one, now the pre-order is the best time to grab one. Hopefully I'll do a pre-order again next winter, but I'm not sure yet. It depends on whether we still have any fabric, etc., etc. So any comments, feedback or questions, please let me know, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.